Is your avoidant ex coming back, or are you stuck in limbo? In this video, I'll give you 5 signs that your avoidant ex is pulling away. If it's your first time here, welcome. My name is Alexis Friedlander. I'm a certified therapist based in London. I used to be dismissive avoidant, hence the name of this channel, the Avoidant Therapist. My mission is to replace relationship guesswork with clarity, so you can feel secure, decide wisely, and never lose yourself again. Ready? Let's go. If you're watching this and wondering if you have any chance of getting back with your ex, or even if it's the right thing to do, I've created a free assessment that gives you clarity. It's based on attachment science, and it will show you whether your ex is still emotionally engaged, if reconnection is possible, and how ready you are mentally and emotionally. What you have to do is just answer a few questions, and you'll get a personalized breakdown within 2 minutes. You can find the link of this assessment below in the description. So a typical behavior when you deal with an avoidant partner or an avoidant ex, the hot and cold. 1 week ago, you received memes and things. They were very active and they're talking about the future, and now they take a long time to reply. What happened? You're starting to ask yourself, I must have said something wrong. I must have done something wrong. I'll explain in this video the 5 clear signs that actually it's not so much about their avoidance, but potentially about their interest. The idea or the point of this video is to help you spot them early and avoid months and months in this limbo, in this kind of situation where you're entertaining hope that things could get better, that you can repair the relationship, when in reality, you're simply wasting your time. Sign number 1, growing reply gaps. You've seen that now, whenever you message them, whenever you have a conversation with them, it takes them hours or days to reply. They pretend, or they say that they're busy. They answer but never ask. So you're the only one asking things, initiating the conversation. You feel that it's very much transactional, so they're not interested. They're not asking open-ended question. And you feel, so sometimes it's hard to do, but you feel that there's the momentum is not there anymore. You feel you're dragging the conversation. So it's a thing that I do with my clients that I help on Telegram, is we look together at the conversation and I assess with an unbiased view whether they're wasting their time, whether the conversation is leading somewhere. It's also on this one important to assess over a period of time. So if you've just started to see them acting this way for the last 48 hours, that's not the end of the world. However, if you feel that you have this reply gap for a period of weeks or months, then it's a sign that they are pulling away for good. And again, I'll explain in the end what you should be doing. The point is to be really clear. And I know it's very hard when you have feelings for someone. It's not so much about being anxious or being delusional. Of course, you want it to work. You're not the kind of person who give up. And that's probably something, I'm not going to follow the slide now. This idea of not giving up. This is where you need to ask yourself, what's the price I have to pay if I stuck in this mindset of I will never give up? The problem with relationship is that it takes 2 to make it work. You, and you're doing the work, and you're watching this video, and you're trying to work on yourself, and that's amazing and well done. What about them? What about your ex? Maybe he or she's not aware that they're avoidant, they don't feel there's anything wrong with them, and anytime there's something difficult, they give up, right? And you say like, no, don't give up. We had something special. This is where you need to really have a pep talk with yourself. Is it really helping me to be in that mindset of, no, I'm not giving up. I'm not going to let you go. At the end of the day, I guess if you're watching this video, you want things to be different, right? So is there something this person can give you? Yes or no? And again, the decision fork and the idea and the questions you need to ask yourself, I'll detail that at the end. Sorry, I didn't follow the slides, but I just wanted to address this for a second. Let's talk about sign number 2. So the sign number 2 is this idea of I need to be independent. I need space. They talk about things they do on their own, solo trips, solo projects. They explain that being close to you or relationship will prevent them from being free. Everything is around autonomy. So anytime you talk about us, talk about projects, they feel like, no, I need my space, I need my time. They'll test whether you'll chase at this phase. So whenever an avoidant says, I need space, they don't do it consciously, but they unconsciously assess, okay, is he or she trying to pressure me? Are they trying to make me do something I don't want to do? So again, those signs, if you just have one of the 5 signs, that's not the end of the world. But if you start seeing 3, 4, 5 of those signs, this is the sign that actually maybe you should yourself move back, withdraw from this relationship. Because again, as I said before, it's not so much about fighting for the relationship, about not giving up. It's about finding a relationship that works for you. Right? And if you're the only one trying to address things, trying to fix things, trying to develop the relationship, guess what? It's not going to work if it's just a one-sided relationship. Sign number 3 is around future plans, where it's very much up in the air. We'll see. I don't know what I'm going to do in a month's time, in 1 week. They don't want to disclose what they will be doing. They keep options open. So I used to do that for a long time when I was a dismissive avoidant. I remember when I was in my 20s, people were asking me, I go out a lot, as a 20-year-old would do. And I would always say yes to everyone. Or always, I don't know if people still use Facebook for events, but I would always put myself in maybes. So I would have 3 or 4 maybes on Saturday night because I didn't want to commit to any options. And I really want to decide on the go. Also, whether people will come or not. So yeah, that would be, and people were so annoyed by this because like, are you coming or not? I don't know. We'll see. I'll let you know. And I'll let you know at 8 p.m. and the party is at 7 p.m. This kind of behavior. So now I realized that it's not extremely respectful for people who host parties. And I think now I realize it's really about commitment, because when you commit to something, when you're saying yes to someone, to a party, to a decision, you're saying no to other things. Right? And so for an avoidant person who's not aware of being they're avoidant, it's daunting, it's difficult, right? I'm going to close my options and I don't know, and I'm going to lose my freedom to decide, freedom to choose, etc., etc. So again, this idea of future plan, it's typical of dismissive avoidant. Now, if you want to be in a relationship, you need to have future things together, sharing plan together, committing in, we will do this at this date together, right? So again, it's important to assess, are you the only one trying to address things? Are you the only one trying to create memories and do things together? Or is it something shared? Sign number 4 is around surface level, very superficial. So avoidant people are characterized by being or having superficial interactions. And that's probably the main reason I started to work on myself, when I realized, hold on, I only have superficial relationship with people, with my friends. I had, and I still have a lot of friends, but at that time, very superficial. And I realized that the only way for me to connect, to build sustainable relationship, was to develop intimacy, open up to people. So I would really hide things, scared of sharing my secrets, that people would judge me, labeling the fact that being vulnerable was bad. And so I would keep always everything at surface level. And actually, I would say back in the days, I had more friends than now, but everything was superficial. So I would love to host parties and do things and have a lot of people that would give me a sense of value and validation, obviously. But when you're in your 20s, back in the days, the game was to have as many Facebook friends as possible. I don't even know how many friends I had, because I'm not using Facebook anymore. Anyway, but again, Facebook friends is a typical example. You feel, it's kind of a score of popularity. But what does it mean to have 2,000 friends? Every time I would meet someone, I would add them as a friend. I would feel like, oh yeah, I have a new friend, giving myself a sense of status. But then did I know anything about them? Would I call them if I was, I don't know, if I was grieving from losing a parent or someone? Would I call them if I don't know, lost my job or broke up with someone? No. Would I go for a coffee one-on-one with them? No, not necessarily. And so that's where I realized, like, hold on, maybe I'm missing the point of what it means to be, or what it means to have social connection, proper connection with human beings, connecting with people. Because I was also at the same time very curious about personal development, psychology, obviously, because of my background. And I knew, okay, hold on, maybe there's something, I'm just like staying at a surface level, I might miss something. And so probably your ex has this feeling of, especially when you're in your 30s and 40s, you kind of compare yourself with others. You kind of see, okay, hold on, do I really want to have those superficial relationships? Maybe there's something more meaningful that I can get when I know the person, when I open up, when I discuss things. Sometimes people don't do this effort and they stay like this, stuck in this mindset of like being vulnerable is scary. Opening up is not something I want to learn. So again, this is something you need to assess as part of the post-breakup phase, is whether the conversation is now shifting more to surface level. You're the one supplying the conversation. You're the one leading the conversation. They're replying, you know, the tone is different. You know, they're very much, as we discussed before, very transactional. You send a very long text, they'll say, yes, maybe, we'll see. You don't sense any form of emotion in those texts. This is a sign that, again, they are pulling away. And be aware of those signs should you want to entertain this idea of getting back with them. The sign number 5 is mixed signals. And after this one, I will explain the scientific proof, the different studies, but also what you need to do right now. Because the aim is not to get back with your ex. I don't care if you get back with your ex. Sorry, I should have said that before. I don't really care. What we care about in this channel, my work is really to help people gain clarity on their situation. And yes, it's confusing to date an avoidant. It's confusing to break up with an avoidant. Because you default to, I must have done something wrong, right? Because otherwise they wouldn't behave this way. So of course, when you know about attachment, when you understand like, okay, I triggered them, and I have this fear of abandonment because I'm an anxiously attached person, that gives you the insights for you to make sense of the situation. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to get back with this person, right? At the same time, I don't feel avoidants are necessarily bad people. Not because I'm dismissive or I used to be dismissive avoidant, but because I think that's not the only element that you need to take into account when you assess the potential of a relationship. And I'll discuss that at the end. And so, again, you are this on and off. 1 week super keen, 1 week they disappear. Very hard to understand their intention. You have to second guess everything. You, in a way, feel that you're walking on eggshells. A lot of people tell me, you know, I know there's something, but at the same time, it would be easier if they were to block me or disappear completely, because that would have a clear closure. I would see, okay, now it's over. But with this person, anytime I disappear, anytime I they come back, you know, and you have those mixed signals on and off. And some people, they stay in that situation for 6, 9, 12 months, right? The point is, at the end of the day, at some stage, if you see, again, it's a dynamic element. It's something that you need to assess over time. If you see there's no progress, if you see the only one making the effort, trying to reconcile, if you're the only adult in the room, this is a sign that you have to let go and you have to close the door yourself. So what does the science say? So there's this study from Fraile, and I will put the sources in the description, explaining that avoidant people, they deactivate their attachment. So we have all a deep need to be attached to a primary attachment figure. Secure people, anxious people attached to their partner. Anxiously attached people will over-attach, will hyperactivate, and for avoidant, they will deactivate. So it's a natural process, but they will shut down this activation process. And that will keep the anxiety quite low. So in other words, if you're anxious, if you're overwhelmed, and you're avoidant, your coping mechanism is to push people away, to deactivate things, because that's how we learn how to cope with things. So my coping mechanism back in the days was to shield myself, go back in my room, in my apartment, and stay on my own. Is it the best way to deal with things? No. Sometimes it works, most of the time it's not the right thing to do. And I learned afterwards that actually when you connect to people, when you open up, you actually feel better. Soothing is way more powerful when you do it with someone who cares about you. Because we are social animals, and avoidant people, they have this tendency to assume that you don't need anyone, that you actually should not ask anyone, that you only have to rely on yourself. So the thing is, when after a breakup, they have signs of intimacy, signs of connection, they will activate this fight or flight response in their brain. And so the pullback, for avoidant is not a reflection of what you're doing or your value, it's regulation. You perceive it as punishment because you want to connect, you want to repair, you don't want to give up. For them, my coping mechanism, what I need right now is to block everything, be with myself. So the element and the process is always the same. It's about nervous system reset, nervous system needs. Right now, there's a lot of psychological drivers, there's a lot of emotional drivers. The only way to connect and repair an anxious avoidant relationship is to sort of work towards the nervous system elements. It's not about words, not about the text, it's about, okay, how can I come across as secure? How can I come across as not a threat? And it's very much unconscious. This will address all those elements of threats, perceived threat, because you know the threat obviously, but it's perceived threat for them. And that will actually increase your chances of reconciling and connecting with this person. So what I do with my clients is we create a secure base. And so a secure response framework would look like this. The first one is to match their pace without resentment. Again, you want to discuss more, you want to connect more, you want more emotions, you want more commitment. At the end of the day, or actually at the beginning of the process, you have to match their pace. You have to always be one step a little bit behind. This is the only way for them to feel safe, away from, okay, this is pressure, this is a threat. This is also why you need to offer low pressure connection points. What I mean by that is that, again, I see that as a staircase. Every single week, you need to connect, you need to do things together, but not trying to say, we've made one step, I need to escalate to the step number 5. And it is a common mistake for people who have an anxious attachment style. Obviously, for you, you want more. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. But the problem is, if you ask this, if you confront your partner right at the beginning to get more, what we'll do, we will pull back. We will withdraw. We will feel threatened and we will end up in this push-pull dynamic that we described before. There's also elements of sharing, but not oversharing. And again, it's about like sharing and showing the way of what could be a secure relationship. So it's about non-violent communication. It's about explaining your point of view, not about being judgmental, being curious without judging. And that's quite hard to do, and it's kind of learning a new language. The element is to provide this element of safety. People don't get back together, or the people I help, they usually have feelings. As a therapist, I can't make people fall back in love. That's not how it works. So you need to have feelings. They need to have feelings. What brings people back is this element of safety. And usually that's the strongest driver. If I feel safe in this relationship, I will get back in this relationship. Now, the problem is obviously the definition of safety for an avoidant person is different than the definition of safety for an anxious person. So you have to, when you reconcile, over-adapt a little bit and create this element of safety. I call that a secure base. And as a methodology that I implement with my clients. It's also what I discussed in my book, if you're interested. And so the idea is to showcase what could be a relationship that's not triggering, what could be a relationship that feels safe. When you do that, and if your partner has feelings, and also is willing to accept that there could be another relationship. And that's the next slide is very important. So again, growth around dialogue, around, okay, this is what we had, these were the problems. Can we address things? Can we work together as a team? It's not about labeling, it's not about judging, it's about like, we have a problem. It's not me versus you, it's together we can look at this problem and address this problem together. But the most important element is this element of growth mindset. If your partner, if your ex doesn't believe that things can change, you are doomed. Let's put it this way. It's never gonna work. If you're watching this video, I assume you have a growth mindset. You're here to make progress, to work on yourself, to improve, and that's amazing. And having a growth mindset is not a belief. That's actually, if you look at a TED talk from Carol Dweck, this is how, a lot of studies now have proven that there's plasticity in our brain, and we can work at addressing our traumas, our insecurities. Obviously, I wouldn't have a job. So the point is to try to assess whether this person you're trying to reconcile with has this same belief, this same approach. Do they own those patterns when you're calm? So again, you're secure, you're the role model. What's going on? What's the response? Do you see a difference? Do you see an element of commitment? And I call that micro commitment when you start the process. Are they willing to apologize, to repair? So if you're doing the work, you've apologized because you've probably did things wrong along the way, and everybody does, we're not perfect. What about them? If they don't take any accountability, if they don't try to see the world if they don't want to see the world you see, you are wasting your time. Are they curious about this element of growth, of nervous system reset? If you can answer yes to all of these questions, yes, it makes sense to try to get back with them. If you're not sure, and that's where it's tricky. There's your brain telling you no, your gut, your heart is telling you yes. Sometimes, most of the time in those situations, don't listen to your gut. And that's why I put together this assessment that I mentioned before to make sense of the situation. And I know it's confusing. And I know you want things to work out. It's painful. You know deep inside that they want to make it work, but it's not about their motivation, it's about their investment. It's about how they are showing up. Because you're showing up, but what are they doing to prove you wrong, to prove me wrong when I say you should give up? And when I say you should give up, it's not give up, you should let go, because it's not working for you. I care about you, I care about your growth, I care about your happiness, about finding the right relationship. And maybe that was not the right relationship. Maybe, yes, you had something amazing, but it seems that it had an expiry date because this person is not willing to fight for you. This person decides to walk away when things become difficult. And to me, what makes a strong relationship, it's not only chemistry, it's not sex, it's not intimacy, it's your ability to show up, to fight for your partner, to commit. And if you can't get that with this person, this is not the right person. I hope that helped. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll see you next time. Take care.